from the get-go, it was emphasized to us really trying to involve people with lived experience. And, you know, we had kind of touched it in other ways, but I would say in very token ways. And I think this has really shown myself anyway that the real value in having people with lived experience really guide things to make sense, so that it's not you're not doing some academic work that sits on a shelf and doesn't actually help people in the end. That we want it to be participatory, so it's helpful to people at the end of the day, to people and their caregivers and families.
Dr. Kathy Craven, who's one of the physiatrists, over the past decade has really worked hard to establish a central recruitment database, which is where when you're an inpatient, you will get asked whether you're interested in learning about research opportunities down the road. And if you are, then your name gets added to the database, and then researchers can access some of that information in order to reach out to people. But really another way that it happens is through word of mouth. So once we might mention to somebody we're already working with, hey, we're looking for a partner on this project, and maybe they aren't interested at the moment, but they're like, oh, I know somebody who would be great. And so we've actually met a lot of our partners with lived experience just through that, word of mouth, talking with our community. So so there's informal, but also some formal ways to try to bring people into the research process, because it's so important, because we're going to produce much more meaningful research if we have those perspectives on our actual research.
If I'm talking to a general public person who has no idea what a person with spinal cord injury would go through, or other physical disabilities, like zero idea because they're pretty healthy or what have you, then I say, I start off by saying, you know what, we have a clinic that is a family doctor, an occupational therapist, and other allied health people who help people who have significant physical disability just access the regular basic care that it can be so difficult and so challenging, and the healthcare system really is just so built up against that kind of thing. And then I just tell them, think if you were in a wheelchair and you're going, could you even get into your family doctor's office? Could you even get up onto the high table? And that's usually enough for those people to understand, we have this accessible clinic, etc. If I'm talking to a family doctor about it and how we could help their patient with it, all I have to say is that we have an accessible interprofessional, that we can help you with your patients that have greater, have some of the issues that come along with the physical disabilities. They totally get it, because they are already struggling with how to manage some of those things like pain and spasticity, and even see them. And then lastly, with the individual themselves who lives with that kind of a condition, like a spinal cord injury or something, to them, we're the clinic that sits in between your specialty services, if you have that, like if you go back to Toronto and see a specialist once a year, 6 months, if you have that, and your family doctor. And we're not going to take either of those away. We're just going to help you and your family doctor kind of help with some of the issues you have, like, again, getting proper preventative care, getting, helping treat your spasticity and these kinds of things. So the message is kind of the same, but it's just translated a little bit different for the population that you're dealing with.
When we've done interviews of our 19, 20 participants who graduated the program, they say the most important thing has been the feedback from people with lived experience. However, you're totally right. In the moments, sometimes, there's been a situation when someone's been told their product actually doesn't work at all, and they have to go back to the design board after years and years of work. How is that received? I think, it's all about the environment you create, where everyone is clear that everyone's trying to move towards the best possible experience to improve the lives of people with spinal cord injury. If we can align on that, it's not perfect, but then the place where this feedback is coming from, it's not personal. It's about wanting the innovation to succeed, but sometimes succeed is not in the path that the innovation thought. And I think a lot of people in the program have talked about there's a culture of candor in the program, and honest, respectful, but firm feedback. And it's something, it's a personal value to me, because we don't get better, but it needs to be constructive. It's not personal. And so I would say the program, there's a lot of not very Canadian style, but, open feedback, but wanting to create a culture of respect, because everyone has a voice.